Please welcome Courtney Love, ladies and gentlemen.
Never met a girl like you before. Never, 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 never met a girl like you before.
Sit down. It's Courtney Love, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi.
The lovely Courtney, Courtney Love. Hello, Courtney. Nice to have you here. Thank you for coming on the show. Now, how would we... There will be many people watching, many people here who, like me, who know of your work and like your work. There'll be some who maybe aren't that familiar with you. Right. You've done an awful lot of things. You've had success with Hole, I know that. You've been very successful acting. What do you like doing the most, or do you not compare things in that way?
I don't really compare them too much. I mean, you know, I don't know. As I'm getting older, you know, because I'm getting up there, you know, it's less about... I think I'm going to do more film work after this record.
Well, I suppose kind of the rock and roll, I mean, you can keep going for as long as you want, I guess, but at the same time, it does seem to be more of a young person's game, doesn't it?
You have to stop showing your boobs at a certain point.
Well, not in my opinion, but certainly I'm sure there are those who feel that way. When you're walking out stage, it must be great fun, I guess, but at the same time, there must be times when you're not in the mood for that kind of thing. Would I be right in that?
No, I'm always in the mood to rock.
Oh, okay. What a life you had, Courtney. What a remarkable life. I've been reading through your diary and I've been reading up on you, and it's a remarkable story. Could you fill us in, you know, just give us a potted history of your first 16 years? Is that possible?
Well, you know, it's in the book. You know, there's a lot that I didn't share, but I did share a lot, and it was Dickensian is the word I would use. I was in what you guys call Borstal. But my family had a little money, so I also went to fancy boarding schools. I went to a boarding school here in England, actually, called Summerhill, which was the first alternative school, and you didn't have to go to classes or anything, and I was the first person to ever be expelled from Summerhill.
So how did you achieve that?
They said you didn't have to go to class, so I didn't go to class.
Yeah, so they said it, but didn't mean it entirely. They thought that would shame you into going occasionally.
Right.
Okay.
But I didn't go at all.
And then, so you came into some money when you were a kid. You were living over here when you were 14 without your parents?
14, yeah. I blagged my way to my trust fund that I'd gotten into Trinity College in Dublin, which was a complete and utter lie. And my real father told me that he was a professor there or something, but it turned out he was like a pot dealer there, or a hash dealer there. Yeah. So I went to Dublin, and then I met a guy named Julian Cope. Remember back in the
band Teardrop Explodes?
Right.
Yeah.
So I ended up in Liverpool. I ended up living in Liverpool for 2 years, in Toxteth.
But what a strange... And then from there, how did you get from there to... You worked as a dancer in Japan for a while?
In Japan, I went to Japan, and I did some, you know, exotic dance.
Were you a stripper in Nebraska, or did I imagine that?
Nebraska, no. I've just toured, no.
I've read all these things about you, or in Alaska or somewhere?
Alaska. Okay. I was a stripper in Alaska.
I got the state wrong.
Okay.
Okay.
The Alaska experience was really good for me, though, because I was looking at 25, and I still hadn't made it, and so I went to Alaska, and you know, Alaska, it's dark, you know, half the year. So I was stripping at a bar called PJ's, Crazy Horse, and I went and I would just write lyrics and play guitar and write lyrics and play guitar till I had like 20 songs, and I just wouldn't talk to anybody, and I wouldn't give lap dances, which, you know, put my income down.
Yeah, you just,
I
believe, where people make a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly. But I was busy in the trailer out back writing lyrics and
because so I guess you knew what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
Now, was this because you knew that you wanted to make music and communicate, or did you just wanted to be known, you wanted to be famous, you wanted to touch people? What was it that was...
If you look in the book, in the first part of the book, there's like a rejection from the Mickey Mouse Club.
Yeah. Now, this is a TV show in American TV. We don't have it over here, and this is like performing kids.
It's where Christina Aguilera came from, it's where Britney Spears came from, it's where Justin Timberlake came from. And I went and auditioned, and I read a Sylvia Plath poem.
So how old were you, Courtney?
I was in 5th grade, so I was 11.
So you were 11, you went to Love...
Yeah.
Well, you know, I'm surprised you were familiar with Sylvia's work. It's remarkable. So you must have been quite an advanced kid. And yet,
I was a doomy, gloomy kid.
Yeah, a strange choice to make for Mickey Mouse, I would have thought.
Well, I was a little ahead of my time. I don't think I'm a Disney type of person.
But what did you hope... Okay, let me ask you, did you think, OK, they'll hear me doing this Sylvia Plath poem? What was the poem, by the way? Was it one of the
I think it was Daddy.
OK.
I think it was Daddy.
Okay, so you think, okay, I'll
Which
read
is
this.
the one about the Nazi boots.
Okay, yes, it's a very strange poem.
Yeah.
It's quite disturbing.
Yeah.
All the more disturbing coming from an 11-year-old, I would have
Yeah,
thought.
maybe I was 12. No, I was 11.
Yeah, well, that
I was
makes a
11.
big difference. Okay. So what did you think they would say? Do you think they would say, wow, she's ahead of her years, maybe there'll be a room for a melancholy, gloomy poetry spot on the Mickey Mouse cover?
I didn't know. I was so out of context and out of touch. I just knew I wanted to be a Mouseketeer where you wear the little ears, but a doomy, gloomy one.
Okay. But so do you think being refused at that tender age, was that did that spur you on to want to prove yourself outside as a performer? Is that what you're saying?
I always wanted to be a movie. I say this. You should say actor and musician, but to be honest, really wanted to be a rock star and a movie star.
A rock star and a movie star. So you wanted to be successful and famous in those
Yeah,
things.
I did.
And now that you've achieved both those things, was it what you hoped? Was it what you imagined it would be? Is it satisfying?
I obviously had a few downs in my ups.
Yeah.
So, with the ups come horrible things, drugs being one of them. And that came into my life pretty early. And just, I think because of my upbringing, I was terribly insecure, so I turned to doing a lot of drugs.
Hadn't they kind of been foisted on you from a pretty early age? Am I right?
Yeah. I was given weird drugs at an early age.
How old were you when you were given drugs?
I don't remember.
Well, roughly. Can we say roughly?
I don't remember.
You were really young, weren't you?
Yeah. No. Oh, you're talking about the LSD thing.
Yes.
I don't remember that at all. I don't even know if it's true. But according to my mother and according to court documents, my father gave me LSD when I was 4. So he was like this bogus kind of manager of the Grateful Dead for charity events. And then he stole money from them, but he was also made LSD. But I don't know him.
Yeah.
I
don't blame you for not knowing him. I'd imagine.
feel like I'm on Oprah.
Is that another drug that we don't know about?
Yeah. I'm sorry, Mommy. I should be talking about,
it's okay. I
Matt
was just
Lucas or
interested.
Cataract or
No.
something.
This is fascinating because I'll tell you the thing about you, Courtney, that I find you a fascinating person. I think you are a very fascinating.
Likewise.
Well, God bless you. But you're a strange person as well, because obviously part of what's fascinating about you, and please don't take this the wrong way, is that your life has been at times a bit of a car crash for the observer looking in, and I'm sure for you as well. And so it's extremely fascinating to meet you and to know that I hope that you're okay and you're kind of like on a stable, even keel right now. Because in your diaries, which you've published, there are all sorts of things which many would keep very personal, very private indeed. And you seem reasonably comfortable about sharing. So how tricky was it, and why would you want to do that? Why would you want to open your diaries up to
graphic
everyone?
sexual stuff isn't in there.
No.
I do have a motto though throughout all drug use, all anything, which is this: manners are free.
So you can do
Good manners are free.
as long as you're polite.
It doesn't matter what you're doing. Good manners are free.
Hey, that's some party right there, isn't it? That's, you should have done that for your Mickey Mouse audition. I'm going to do a poem by a suicide person, and then we're going to finish up with a... Thank you for having me, as my mother taught me to say.
Here's on. I kept out names.
Yeah.
It was not a kiss and tell.
No, I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is you're talking about aspects of your life and things that have happened to you. And I would have thought it's, in a way, quite weird to have people read that and feel they know about you and know about those things of your life, but you're willingly letting people in there.
But as I said, I do want to sell the book, and there's a lot in there that I think is personal. But then on the other hand, there's a lot in there that there's 2 roomfuls of stuff that I didn't put in there.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I think I think this stuff that's in there is revealing, but it's not. I don't feel too.
No, you're obviously comfortable with it. Yeah.
Myself.
But you've given up drugs. You've given up boozing.
I'm a year and 4 months clean.
Well, congratulations. That's
Yeah.
very American response. Thank you.
And it's
Do you
really-
find it hard to stay away from drugs, to stay away from booze? Do you?
Everyone gets to drink wine back there, but me. I was smelling Simon Pegg's wine.
But
And
is
I
it
was sitting
hard
with
for you
Jeremy
to?
Clarkson, who I really want to teach me to drive.
Oh, there you go. Now, Courtney, never mind Jeremy. We'll get to him in a minute. Don't pander to his mighty ego.
Yeah.
In the book, obviously, you talk about your relationship with your daughter. At times, you refer to your relationship with your parents, and obviously, you talk about your time with Kurt Cobain, of course.
Right.
Okay. Which is once again, I would have thought a strange thing to carry around with you, that you're defined to such an extent by people who don't know you, by a relationship that was quite a while ago, ended tragically. That must be difficult, I would have thought, to deal with and to process the way, because we still want to know about him, and people want to know about your relationship with him, and
Yeah.
it's something you're never really going to be free of, is it?
Yeah, well, even in the Borstals and the boarding school, I mean, one of the Borstals, or juvenile halls, was in a place called Eugene, Oregon, full of hippies. So feminism was shoved down my throat from a really young age, and Summerhill in New Zealand, and you know, people say I'm an Anglophile, but I actually had dual citizenship in the British Commonwealth until I was emancipated at 15. So I think that makes me something like an ex sort of English person, from New Zealand. But in any case,
you've had the strangest life of anyone I've ever met.
Okay, but the point is, I never thought I would be defined. It really did take me by surprise. Yeah. I never thought I would be defined by the man that I was with. I honestly never thought that was going to happen to me. And it shocked me when it happened. And now I understand society a little more, and I understand mainstream culture a little more, but I didn't understand it then.
And why do you think that is? Do you think it's because he had such an impact, and the band he was with, they were, you know, such a tremendous band and so important to people? You know, I met him very briefly, very briefly. I met him.
When?
He came on my show. He did one of my shows. Nirvana came on one of my shows.
That must not have been going out with them.
Years ago. I think it was before you were with him.
It must have been, because I would have come along for that.
And he was he struck me as being quite shy, quite introverted. He was quite quiet, and he, you know, certainly. This was back in about '91. I don't know when you started.
I started going out with him like September, November '91.
He was very quiet, you know, and he seemed, though, quite fragile to someone who didn't know him.
Right. He was tough, though. He was tough.
Tough in what way?
Like, he was like beef jerky tough. He was a tough little scrapper.
Yeah. So you'd fight for what he believed in.
Yeah, and he was a bit of a man's man, too. You know, he could fix a car, he could, you know, I mean, he came off fragile, and I mean, I guess, you know, because he looked the part, and he died so young that, you know, he's sort of become canonized in this way, like he, you know, I loved him, and he was my best friend, and I had a child with him, and I'm certainly not going to sit on your show or anyone's show and say mean things about him, but he wasn't a saint.
Yeah. Well, no one is, of course, when you get close to someone.
And he wasn't a fragile girl either. He was a man. He was a fully grown man. He was, you know, good at being a man. It was a long time ago, but, you know, I remember certain things.
Yeah, I'm sure. Do you have any one special person in your life right now? I'm talking about a man. Obviously, your daughter's very important to you, I imagine, but certainly, have you found a partner who can, not replace him, but can fill the needs?
You mean, do I get shagged ever?
I know you get shagged on a regular basis, Courtney. I hope you do.
I get shagged.
But have you found someone? Have you got...
You know, the problem is that my man meter is so sucky, as evidenced.
Hold on, let me just translate that for the English audience. Her ability to choose the correct mate is sometimes not the best in the world.
I tend to go for people with problems that run very, very deep. And I don't know why that is.
But, you know, because in a way, of course, he had problems as well.
Yeah.
Right, so you haven't managed
Change
to...
that
but can you change it, do you think? Or is it just like...
I'm working on it. I mean, you know, I'm a Buddhist now, and I've been, you know... I don't know, Jonathan. I'm going to lay on your couch, and you're going to help me get over this.
Oh, come on, okay.
What are we going to do?
Well, a few things spring to mind. Hey, Courtney, now you mentioned you're a Buddhist now, okay?
Yeah.
You've tried, I believe you've involved yourself in other religions and other kind of ways of...
Not really. I mean, I've always gone back to Buddhism. You know, I've always gone back to Nichiren Buddhism. When I was 23, I did it. And it worked to get my band together. It worked to get my band huge. It worked to make me wealthy, all that stuff. Then everything I got, and then I wanted to, like, chanting for a Nirvana tour. I ended up with a Nirvana husband, blah, blah, blah. Then I got everything I wanted, then I quit. But and then I did it again years later. I did it again. I ended up with that wonderful film Larry Flynn. I ended up with a great boyfriend who really didn't have big problems.
But Courtney, let me ask you, do you genuinely believe that there was the chanting that got you these breaks in your life, or was it the fact that by doing that and by being centered on something which was maybe outside of the other things in your life, you know, that you were more able to take opportunities when they present themselves? I mean, do you believe there's some kind of force that you chant and someone says, you know, this is working and I'm going to give this, or do you think by chanting you become...
I have faith in the system that works. I mean, it's a philosophy more than anything else, but it's also a practice.
Did you try it? You were involved in Scientology for a while, weren't you?
Well, the size, I mean, the size are cool, and I went to the Size Celebrity Center and had some chicken a few times.
Because it's a modern religion essentially, and there's no reason why I don't think it should have the same respect that other religions have. But at the same time,
it gets a little wacky. Though.
Yeah. Well, what's strange about Scientology?
Well, there's some wacky stuff. I mean, in my opinion, the guy that founded it, his writing sometimes gets really naff. And as we saw at Tom Cruise's wedding, a pot, a pan, a skittle, a comb, a kitten. I mean, a lot of the writing is like that's demonstrative of a lot of the writing. And then he rewrote Darwinism, and he wrote that oh God, all sides are going to hate me now. All right.
No, you know what?
He wrote that we come from mollusks. He wrote that we come from clams.
Right.
And that when we get upset, now maybe I'm interpreting this wrongly, but that when we get upset, it's because we used to be clams and our hinges are confused. Now I am not trying to pick on. It's just I'm really dear friends with Kirstie Alley. I'm friends with a lot of size, and and she's great because you can absolutely poke fun at her about it and say, what about the mollusks? What about the hinge? Tell me about the hinge.
And her answer is?
Her answer is, it's my religion, and I believe it.
Yeah, that's right.
So, God bless.
That's what I feel absolutely, that they're entitled to believe, everyone's entitled to believe whatever they want, hinge or no hinge.
Hinge is unhinged.
I like this. I'm actually now quite tempted by it. The whole mollusks theory makes some sense to me, I'll be honest with you. I've long suspected there was a seafood base to my life.
Yeah, there's that, there's an intergalactic overlord, and...
Now I'm hooked. Now I'm sold. No doubt about it. They've got another one.
I'm a recruiter. No, I mean, they're really nice. I've never met a side that I didn't like.
Courtney,
so.
I didn't know what to expect when I first saw you in the movie. I don't know if you saw Courtney in any of her films. I thought you were sensational in the Larry Flint movie that you were in. That was a fabulous performance, I thought.
So much.
And also excellent in, was it called The Man in the Moon? The Jim Carrey
Man in
film?
the Moon, yeah.
The book is called Dirty Blonde. It is Courtney's... they're very frank. I know that you've obviously held some stuff back for yourself, but it's a very frank and very, it's a fascinating look at the life and the history of a very fascinating and complex person, I think.
Okay. Thank you.
Courtney, I'm thrilled you came on the show.
I'm so thrilled that you had me.
Well, thank you. I'm a fan of yours. Ladies and gentlemen, Courtney Love. Thank you, Courtney. That was lovely. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Courtney Love. See you later, Courtney.